Have you ever noticed how some places just feel like they're full of stories? Like the landscape is kind of whispering secrets?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, today we're going deep, deep into one of those places, a spot that just seems to really grab hold of you.
Okay, color me intrigued. Where are we headed?
We're going to the Kosi River. You know, the one that runs through Jim Corbett National Park.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, I've heard a bit about that place. It's beautiful, right?
Oh, absolutely stunning. But we're not here for the scenery this time.
Okay, then what's on the agenda?
This time, the stories are a little more on the chilling side. We're diving into some seriously eerie accounts, all about the Kosi River,
Mhm.
all drawn from Horror Podcast 5.pdf. And let me tell you, these tales, they've got a certain something to them.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, and there's this one legend that really caught my eye.
Hmm.
It's about a young woman named Kavita and a curse, all tied into disrespecting the river. So for everyone listening, get ready. We're going to explore these eerie accounts and see if we can untangle what makes this local lore so gripping. What do you say? Ready to dive in?
Absolutely, let's get spoopy.
Okay, so when you start looking into these Kosi River stories, one thing really jumps out at you.
What's that?
The legend of Kavita. It really sets the scene for everything else. She's depicted as this young woman, and she's got this profound connection to the river.
Hmm.
It's almost spiritual. Like every day she makes offerings and prayers, showing real reverence for nature.
Wow. Yeah, that's a level of devotion you don't see every day. It makes you wonder, where does that kind of deep respect for nature come from? It seems like it's woven into certain cultures.
Right. And then the story takes a turn. A group of travelers enter the picture,
Yeah.
and they clearly don't share that same reverence.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they pollute the water. They even start taking stones from the riverbed.
Hmm.
It's almost like a deliberate act of disregard.
Yeah, that's not cool. What's your take on their behavior, especially in the context of this legend?
Well, to me, it feels like a direct slap in the face to how sacred the river is, at least to Kavita. It's like this clash, between human arrogance and the power of nature. Maybe perceived power, but power nonetheless.
That's a great point. It makes me think about how so many stories like this pop up when people disrespect the environment or act like they're above it.
Exactly. And Kavita sees all this happening. And she doesn't just stand by. She steps in, issues a warning. Like, hey, the river has its own way of responding to disrespect. What's fascinating is how the travelers react.
Well, how do they take it?
They laugh,
Mhm.
they scoff, they completely brush her off,
Yeah.
which, if you think about it, just makes their initial disrespect even worse.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, they're doubling down on their disregard for local beliefs and whatever power the river might hold, which, spoiler alert, in the legend, doesn't end well for them.
And that's when it happens. Kavita's devotion turns to anguish. And she utters this unforgettable curse, she says. Those who disrespect the Kosi will never leave its depths.
Chills. Literal chills. What hits you the hardest about that line?
Well, for me, it's how potent that statement is.
Yeah.
Coming from her,
Yeah.
Someone so deeply connected to the river, it changes everything. The Kosi goes from just being a natural feature to something with agency. It becomes a guardian, capable of taking revenge.
Yeah.
And that sets up this core belief. The river's got its eyes on you, and disrespect has consequences.
And for the listener, that's where the real story begins, that belief. Because now we're going to start hearing about these unsettling real-life events that have happened in the Kosi River, and you got to wonder, is there a connection to the curse?
Yeah, so we've got this curse looming over everything, and then, bam, we start hearing all these reports of unexplained drownings, lots of them. What details really stood out to you about these incidents?
Okay, so what really gets me is how many of these accounts mention a lack of struggle.
What do you mean?
It's not like these folks are desperately fighting the current, It's like they're suddenly pulled under, no warning, no time to react.
Rewind.
And then there's this one truly disturbing detail that pops up again and again. The terrified expressions on the victims' faces, like what did they see in those final moments?
It's enough to make your hair stand on end, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a picture right out of a horror movie. And there's this one story about a group of college students. It just highlights how dangerous the Kosi can be.
Right. Like ignoring local advice is just asking for trouble.
Exactly. It's like disrespecting the river in a way. And these students, they go swimming despite everyone telling them not to. Then one of them, Rahul, he suddenly screams and vanishes. Oof, gone.
Oh, no.
And his friends, they search like crazy, but nothing. And what makes it even more unsettling is what he reportedly said right before disappearing. His last words.
Okay, what were they?
He said, "She's here."
Oh, come on. That's a straight line back to Kavita and her curse. Just thinking about those words, doesn't it make your skin crawl?
Absolutely. And then days later, they find his body downstream.
Oh, no.
Pale and with his eyes wide open. That image, his last words, it just fuels the fire, you know? Makes you think maybe something supernatural was involved. It definitely opens the door to that possibility. When you look at it through the lens of the legend, it's hard not to at least consider it, right? It's like how we already believe something can totally color how we interpret what we see.
The drownings are terrifying enough, but that's not the end of it. There are stories of ghostly figures near the river. What kind of encounters do people describe in the source material?
Well, these really tap into one of our deepest fears.
What's that?
Spirits tied to a place of tragedy, like the Kosi after dark, people avoid it. And apparently it's because of all the sightings of these ghostly figures in the water. The locals believe they're the spirits of those who drowned, forever stuck in the river.
Oh, wow. And the fisherman, Mohan, he had this incredibly vivid, unsettling encounter. Can you tell us about what he supposedly saw?
Yeah, so Mohan's story takes place at dusk. He's by the river and he sees a woman standing in the water. She's wearing a white sari, her back to him, and her long hair's flowing in the water.
It's like a scene from a movie.
Right, totally. So he calls out to her and she turns. And he describes her face as pale, lifeless, with these hollow eyes. She beckons him, and Mohan feels this overwhelming pull towards the water. It's like a siren calling him to his doom.
Oh my God, it's terrifying. So what happened? Did he go in?
He didn't, but he was so shaken by the experience he never fished there again. Whether it was a supernatural being or just a trick of the light playing on a mind steeped in the local stories, the impact was real.
That's what gets me. These stories, they really affect how we perceive a place, no matter how grounded in reality they may or may not be.
You're so right. The psychological impact of legends like this can be just as powerful as any real event. And it makes you wonder how much of what we see is shaped by what we believe.
That's a great question. And then there's this story from a tourist, Anita. She experienced what's described as the unseen hand. This one really freaked me out.
Oh, yeah. Anita's encounter adds a whole other level of horror.
It does. So she's taking pictures near the riverbank, and she feels this cold, wet grip on her ankle. She looks down, and there's nothing there. That's what makes it so creepy, being touched by something you can't see.
Oh, 100%. And then it gets even worse. She's dragged into the water, fighting against this strong current, but she can't see what's pulling her.
It's like a nightmare. What are your thoughts on this kind of encounter, especially in the context of everything else we've discussed?
It's interesting, right? The supernatural element ramps up. It's not just sightings anymore. It's a physical interaction. And then she's suddenly released and catches a glimpse of a shadowy figure with glowing eyes in the water. Talk about adding to the mystery. It suggests something more malevolent is at play. What do you think? Does this shift make the legend more believable or less?
For me, it just adds to the feeling of unease. It's like each type of story, the curse, the drownings, the ghosts, the unseen hand, they all contribute to this picture of the Kosi as a place with a dark side.
Exactly. That's the power of folklore. Each story, real or imagined, reinforces the themes and builds on this overall narrative about the river. It creates a shared understanding, even a sense of anticipation, when people encounter the Kosi.
It's like the river becomes a character in its own right.
Totally.
And then there's this idea that keeps coming up that the river itself sends warnings, like it's aware and has a purpose. What are some of the omens people experience?
Think subtle and unsettling.
Like what?
Whispers on the wind when there's no one around, or weird ripples in the water with no explanation. Locals believe it's the river stirring, maybe showing its displeasure or hinting at what it plans to do. It makes you think, how attuned are people who live close to nature to these subtle signs?
It's like they can read the river's language. And then there's this incident with some hikers. It really brings this whole river's warning thing to life.
Right. They heard voices calling their names, saw a figure in the water. They got this bad feeling and decided to pack up and leave.
Good call.
Turns out it was a great call. A flash flood hit and wiped out their campsite. Their decision to trust their gut feeling, whether they linked it to the river or not, might have saved their lives. It really emphasizes how powerful nature can be and how important it is to pay attention to those intuitive feelings.
It's like a reminder that even if we don't understand it, nature's got its own rules, and it's not afraid to enforce them. So we have all these stories, all these threads of local belief. When you zoom out, what are the big themes, the takeaways for you?
The recurring elements are pretty clear. Disrespect towards nature leads to bad things like sudden tragedies. Then you've got encounters with ghostly figures and these warnings that often come before something bad happens.
It's like a recipe for disaster.
It is. Whether these events have a supernatural cause or can be explained by natural dangers mixed with folklore, well, that's up to you to decide. But the constant thread is that our actions in the natural world have consequences. Don't mess with Mother Nature, right?
Right. Speaking of, how does Horror Podcast 5.pdf interpret all of this? Does it pick a side when it comes to explanations?
Well, in the closing thoughts section, they really hammer home the power of nature and how crucial it is to treat it with respect. They suggest that the story of the Kosi, whether you buy into the curses and ghosts or not, is a reminder. A reminder that there are forces we can't fully control and that the past shapes our present. It's not just about spooky stories, it's a warning about how we treat the environment.
So basically, whether you believe in Kavita's vengeful spirit or just see the Kosi as a powerful, unpredictable river, the message is clear. Respect nature or face the consequences.
Absolutely. The legend taps into this deep-seated human understanding that nature can be both beautiful and dangerous, and that our actions within it matter. Folklore like this often helps us understand the unpredictable and passes down important values and lessons across generations.
It's a really powerful mix, isn't it? Horror, mystery, and this deep connection to the natural world.
It really is. It makes you think about that line between what we can logically understand and the influence of belief and storytelling. Those things are powerful, even if they aren't tangible.
They are. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the chilling tales of the Kosi River, let's recap. We've journeyed through the legend of Kavita and her curse, learned about the many unexplained drownings, and encountered ghostly figures in the unseen hand. We even talked about the river sending warnings before tragedy strikes.
It's a lot to process. And now it's your turn, dear listener. Are these just unfortunate accidents that have been woven into a captivating local legend? Or is there something more at play in the depths of the Kosi? Something unexplained, something maybe even supernatural?
It makes you think, doesn't it? About the places we visit, the stories they hold, and the secrets they whisper. Whether you believe in curses or not, the Kosi River serves as a reminder of the power of nature, the weight of local legends, and the idea that some secrets might be better left undisturbed. What do you think lurks beneath the surface of those mysterious waters?
That's something to think about, isn't it?
It is.